Hello and welcome to Oxford Plains Speedway in Oxford, Maine for Facebook Live coverage. This FREEVIEW of final practice for the 50th Annual Oxford 250 presented by Spencer Group Paving. I'm Alan Dietz along with Elgin Traylor. You'll also hear from Kevin Varney, Kevin Boucher, and during the Oxford 250 you'll hear from 2001 past North champion Sam Sessions, who will join us on color commentary. If you haven't ordered your pay-per-view coverage for this year's Oxford 250, time is running out. Our coverage will shift from here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time to RacingAmerica.tv pay-per-view. We invite you to join in and join us. It's going to be a fun-filled, action-packed day here as part of the 50th Annual Oxford 250. Now the super late models rolling out on track now, and Elgin fitting. Mike Rowe leads everybody out, followed by Ben Rowe, and here comes the brigade.
Is this 2003 when they started on the front row together? They're the first two out. I'll tell you what, I was in the pits this morning. The tension with some of the teams, because it's almost like they woke up and realized, oh my gosh, it's 2:50 morning, and then you got other people going, well, we've been here for 4 days, we've been prepping, we're pretty good, but this is the 0 hour, this is the last chance to scuff tires, make any final adjustments before the all-important draw and the heat races, and it looks like we're about to send everybody out onto the track.
Yep,
here.
I believe 60 cars are going to draw for positions for their heat races. It's a totally random draw, and you'll get to see that here on Facebook Live as well before our coverage shift to RacingAmerica.tv pay-per-view. There is last year's winner, Cole Butcher, and just like last year, he had a problem yesterday. Can he have the same result today? Well, we'll find out in a few hours.
Definitely will, see if he could be the first Canadian to go back-to-back. 37 cars on track right now. This could be a little treacherous because some guys are just scuffing tires. Some guys are looking for speed. So low lane right now will be scuffing tires. High lane will be the speed line, kind of like the interstate in reverse as they go out here. But Butcher was at the top of the charts here early this morning after that engine change. Pretty ho-hum about it, just kind of has the same attitude. I think that's what makes him such a good racer. He's just kind of, he's calculating, but he's smooth. He doesn't really kind of like let things get worried, because you'll see people over there pacing and like being worried and everything, and you see the ones that are calm and collective. Some of the calm and collective guys tend to pick up more trophies here. And look who's here in the 26.
Yep, Bubba Pollard out there in the car number 26, a team car to Max Cookson. And he was in the top 15 in practice earlier today, which is leaps and bounds ahead of where he's been at this point in the weekend the last few years.
Yeah, you have to go almost back to his first year when he won, that he was so quick. And here's Cassius Clark. This is old trusty. This car here is many years old. This is the car he won the race with a couple of years ago. Run a couple more times. Trouble, turn 4 in front of this. Scott Moore in the 03 goes around. That's a treacherous situation.
Yep, looks like everybody is going to be able to avoid it. This really is organized chaos, as you mentioned, organized in the sense that you'll come out on the racetrack at the pit road exit in turn 3. You go off the racetrack to the pit road entrance in turn 2. So basically you got plenty of room whenever you come out of turn 4 between the racing surface and the outside wall. Folks will get well out of the way. You know they're going to go into the pits. If you're down in the racing line, though, you better be up to speed like Jimmy Renfro is right now.
Double duty for the 00 driver. He was here last night in the ACT competition, had a solid finish. Looking to back it up with a victory or another solid run today. You know, I'll tell you, last night's winner might be somebody we might have to look at. The 47 of Gabe Brown, last night got the win in the ACT race. Maybe he could put it all together today, because he was third here a year ago. It just seems like he's always in the mix come feature time, and as he's out here, Scott, look at the traffic on the outside of him.
But you know, the thing about it is this is exactly what the race is going to look like.
Yes.
You'll see cars going 2 and 3 wide throughout the afternoon. Plenty of room on this racetrack. But, you know, people on different pit strategies, people with older tires, people with newer tires, goers and comers. And that's where a lot of times things can, go sideways, if you will. But we've also seen 150s here that go, green to checkers. As we see Derek Griffith out on the racetrack now, 2-time past national champion. Take you through how our coverage is going to go here today. Following this practice, immediately following this practice on Facebook Live, we'll have the draw to determine the starting lineup for the 5 heat races that we'll have this afternoon. Our coverage will then go to RacingAmerica.tv pay-per-view at approximately 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you've not ordered your coverage, please do so now. And remember, you do not have to be a subscriber to Racing America. We want you to be a subscriber because there's so much great action that you can get in exclusive content. But you do not have to be a subscriber to purchase the pay-per-view. Then we'll have our heat races for the local divisions that compete here this weekend. Our super late model heat races will have 5 15-lap heat races, top 5 transfer, gets you 25 cars. Then we'll have, not in this order, but then we'll have 3 consolation races. 4 will transfer from the consolation races. That gets you to 37 cars. 1 last chance race, and it literally is the last chance because only the winner can transfer through that race. That gets you to 38 cars. And then there are Oxford Plains and pass provisionals that'll get us probably around 42 cars. We should have 42 cars. That means we'll send 18 cars home approximately. We'll also have heat race action for the past modifieds and the limiteds, NES feature action, local features. We'll have the super late model consolation race, more feature racing, and then we'll wind it down with the pre-race for the 50th annual Oxford 250. Kevin Boucher will be down trackside along with Phil Whipple. They're going to catch up with some of the past 250 winners who are here. I know they're going to have a photograph of all the 250 winners that are here in attendance. Just a really special moment. You know, we talked about it yesterday, Elgin, but, you know, outside of the Snowball Derby and now the Oxford 250, you don't see a lot of pavement super late model races that are 50-plus years old.
No, the age of this race is just definitely up there with the history of it. It's consecutive too. You know, some races have had years off in situations like that. We've seen a lot of things come through with the cars on the track. A lot of 7 cars out there. Curtis Gary showed up this morning. Now we're showing you Bubba Pollard on track. Ben Rowe is actually at the top of the charts. They had some electrical problems earlier. They didn't get to go out into the first practice. So Rowe actually probably went out, got some laps in on some stickers, and then came back out and scuffed the tires here. Justin Larson is second in this, DJ Shaw. Some cars using this as a practice session, some as a scuff section. And after this, of course, we'll be doing the draw. This is the 20 of Joe Pastore. And there's a real interesting story. Alan had to step away from the mic for a second here. But I kind of wanted Alan to hear this story. But yesterday, there was a trailer that was coming into the pit area, and it actually backed into the Joe Pastore machine. So they had to kind of tape that number 20 car up and make sure everything was good. It was on the back end. You really couldn't see the cosmetic damage. So they are good to go here. It's a 45 Austin Terrier out of Fort Kent. A couple years ago, this kid had a lot of solid runs here. A couple runs on the podium, 4 straight finishes in the top 5. If he can return to that form in this car, it would be not surprising because he's always got around this track pretty well. Trying to check to see where he is on the speed chart here. At this point, as 49 cars have been on track for this final practice. Terrio 33rd right now. We go back to the Ben Ashline machine and the number 99 and the 38, a Garrett Lamb. Lamb is 30th on the chart as they're going side by side. Lamb transferring in from the past modifieds ranks has done pretty well in the super late model transition. Again, 12:21 local time here. And this is the 15 of Mike Hopkins out of Herman, Maine. Mike has not really run a lot this year with the Pass Series, but he's run well down here. He's run well in an ACT car. There are actually 2 15 Hopkins cars in the field today. This is the 15 of Mike Hopkins. He'll be in this one. The other one is a white car that's also a Hopkins car, but Travis Stearns will be running that one. Hopkins elected to sit out the first practice. This is a Port City effort with Gary Crooks heading up both cars. So look for a lot of speed out of them here. And here's Bubba Pollard and Ben Rowe going side by side. Rowe, a 2-time winner here and the most recent Pass winner here. Pollard, of course, came here and surprised many people years ago. But this is the first effort for Pollard in a car that's not his own at this race. He came in this morning with some members of his team. About 6 of them flew up from Georgia. And they like what things going on there in the Cookson car, the 26 there back behind them here. But Ben Rowe, a couple weeks ago when he won that race, he had that smile, that winning smile that we've seen in victory lane here at the Oxford 250 in the past. We'll see if that magic can kind of come together. The Rows are really kind of on cloud 9 here the last couple weeks because Mike Rowe also won the weekly feature to extend his streak of numbers of years won. Just so many winners on the track here. Here's Eddie McDonald, a 2-time winner of this race. It was during the ACT late model years, but this car has always been fast in the super late model ranks. Now this team has a real unique, interesting thing when it comes to the draw. They actually have a meeting on on Sunday morning. The team will actually meet and determine who is going to be the drawer. It's not the driver. It's not normally the owner, but they pick a representative. They're more superstitious about the draw. They actually have a meeting to determine who the draw person's going to be before they send anybody out there.
Elgin, are you going to let me get a word in edgewise or what?
Well, you gotta take a break breathing between those hot dogs here.
No, I actually was talking to Mike Mayberry, the general manager here at Oxford Plains Speedway, and just letting them know what we're doing and what they're doing, and interacting as the yellow and black flags are out on the speedway right now. Ben Rowe, the quickest with a lap of 15.557 seconds. Mike Hopkins, second quick. Justin Larson, DJ Shaw, Corey Bubar, the top 5. TJ Brackett, Johnny Clark, Kyle D'Souza, Curtis Gary, and Mike Rowe, the top 10. And, we had Mike Rowe on the Bull Ring, which you could catch each and every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time here on Racing America Facebook or Twitter. We had Mike Rowe on this week for our Oxford 250 preview show, and he sounded as confident in he and Ben Rowe have sounded in a long time, and they're both in the top 10, and it's been a long time since we've seen both in the top 10 here in the final practice.
If they're good, that could be a problem for a lot of other people, but I want to circle a name right here. Look in the third spot, Justin Larson. We might have not necessarily noticed this as much. This might fly under the radar a little bit. Third quick final session. Let's see how that draw is. There's always a story that we don't see coming. There's 60 cars over there, and we might know 35 good ones, but there's always 1 or 2 that creep up and even surprise us. Not that you can handicap or predict these races, but somebody is going to have a day that nobody expected in making the race, or heck, maybe even winning or having a solid run.
Well, I want to remind you again, if you're watching here on Facebook Live, which if you just heard what I said, you're obviously watching here on Facebook Live. But if you want to catch more of the Oxford 250 here on Racing America, if you haven't ordered your pay-per-view coverage, do it now. Go to racingamerica.tv and order that coverage. And I want to make one thing very clear. This is your e-ticket to the Oxford 250. We're going to do everything we can do to make you feel like you are a part of the Oxford 250. But it's not just Racing America taking your money. When we have these pay-per-view events, yes, we have 95% of our events are subscriber events. But whenever we have these pay-per-view events, these are agreements and partnerships with the Oxford Plains Speedway, with Five Flags Speedway for the Snowball Derby, and you are giving back to these racetracks. It's not just a one-sided deal. So understand that, and that's what allows us to have higher quality broadcasts for these major events.
Oh, I love it. Here we go.
Well, there is the board, and that is going to fill out the starting lineup for the 5 heat races that'll come up here in just a little bit. The drivers are going to come out. You'll be able to see that draw here on our Facebook coverage before we go to racingamerica.tv's pay-per-view coverage. Now, here's one thing I've always wondered. Yes. How do they determine the order that you draw in?
I think it's in by entries. Because I was talking to Jeff Taylor about this morning. I said, who do you have draw for you? He goes, well, it doesn't really matter for what we draw, because by the time we draw, it's going to be whatever's left in the bag. Because he was a late entry. He didn't enter until about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Do you want to be early or late, or does it really matter?
Well, the possibility of that one being pulled is, greater the further you go. I don't think the one pill, thinking back, I don't think it's really been pulled in the last 25% of the field, so it's probably better to go somewhere in the middle, if not early on, where you have so many options. Because, number 1 is good, but, those first 9 numbers are pretty good because
you're going to start on the front row.
You could be, getting in through Heat 1, which is key because you want to be, either on the pole or, if you're second, you're going to be starting 6th.
Yeah. Well, the drivers are starting to make their way over now, and this is one of the great traditions of the Oxford 250, and it is a random draw. There are 60 pills. You've probably seen it on our Racing America social coverage. There are 60 pills numbered 1 through 60, and whatever number you draw, they are going to put down on that board for what the starting lineup will be. And remember, these 5 heat races coming up are 15 laps. 15 laps does not take a long time here at Oxford Plains. The top 5 will transfer. So if you pull a 1, even if you're not one of the fastest cars out there, there's a really good chance that you can hold on for 15 laps and end up finishing in the top 5.
Is it 15 or is it 20? I just want to make sure for my notes here. It's not listed. I thought you said 20 earlier.
Well, I don't know.
We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait. I don't want to say you're wrong because they did not list it because, they can alter that if need be. But, another thing to factor in, too, is at some point they do the split, where it cuts off Heat 1 because you might draw 13 and think, oh, man, that's 13th in Heat 1. You might be outside pole in Heat 2. Yeah. It's wherever that fold of the numbers is and whatnot. And they're coming in from both sides of the pits. It's kind of cool here. This is coming in from the turn 3 side of pits, and they're actually even coming in on the other side of the pits too, because there are several teams pitted towards the turn 2 side of the pits.
Well, Kevin Boucher is down track side, and he'll be handling all of the PA activities today for the pre-race for the Oxford 250 whenever that comes up. Starting lineups, recognizing former winners that are here as part of this 50th anniversary Oxford 250, and he'll be down trackside as well. You'll hear Kevin Varney, one of the voices here at Oxford Plains Speedway, on the local divisions, and then you'll hear us on the pass race, obviously the Oxford 250, and some of the other divisions throughout our coverage. Once again, if you have not purchased your pay-per-view coverage of the 50th annual Oxford 250 presented by Spencer Group Paving, please go to racingamerica.tv now and purchase your coverage. One thing you'll notice as these drivers go down is part of this sponsorship with Spencer Group Paving, and this is the first time in a long, long time, but the pit road here at Oxford Plains Speedway has been repaved, and pit road here at Oxford Plains, basically, you pit one row of cars on the first row, which is closest to the grandstands, and then the second group pits back behind that wall. And, those strategies, where you come in, when you take tires, how many tires you take, that really and honestly can determine who ends up winning this race, and more times than not, it does.
Actually, something to kind of take note of here, I've not noticed here, they've actually drawn the pit boxes on the backside, like you're saying. As where before, people used to pit on both sides of the backstretch, and that was a little tricky. This will allow it for it to be basically a continuous pit road and whatnot. And they did talk to them in the drivers' meeting yesterday, and they warned them about speed. And once we get on the broadcast, we'll mention this again. They are going to be patrolling, getting off the pit road there on speed, saying, look, all you got to do is get to where it is there. Once you get your position, you can slow down so you can blend back in. Here's a good shot of the pits there, the backstretch pits. Races have been won from the backstretch pits, but you got to see.
But again, now backstretch pits.
Sorry, back inside pits, yeah.
Yes.
Like inside the pits.
You'll see that they're all numbered, and once you get locked in and the field is set, then you'll start choosing pit stalls, and that's how it'll be determined. Well, I hear Kevin Boucher down trackside now. We'll go down to the track PA, and you'll see the draw for the 50th annual Oxford 250.
Qualifying heats and get everybody in position. Everybody's looking for that number one pill. 50-plus drivers on hand here this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we are just about ready to go. Our first driver to draw will be Jeremy Wharf. Where's Jeremy? Jeremy's still coming out of the pit area. Some last-minute adjustments. Come on, Jeremy, we're waiting for you. The way the qualifying is set up, they draw for position in the qualifiers. When you get the number one pill, you start on the pole in the first heat. And we'll see where Jeremy pulls. Number 42 for Jeremy Wharf. Mike Sorzelli, come on down. The Faribault, New York native. Pulls at number 27. Austin Terrace from Gray, Maine. Pulls number 7 for Austin Terrace. Calvin Rose Jr. from Turner. Little guy doesn't want to do it. So Calvin pulls number 28. Belmont, Maine's Colby Benjamin coming up to pull his number. Number 15 for Colby Benjamin. From Center Conway, New Hampshire, Gabe Brown. Number 57 for Gabe Brown. He's got some work cut out for him. How about Jimmy Renfrew Jr. out of Candia, New Hampshire? Number 1 for Jimmy Renfrew. Max Cookson from Palmyra, Maine. You're the number 39. Driver with the Kowicki Development Program. Number 50 for Max Cookson. Dennis Spencer Jr. out of Oxford. Number 29 for Dennis. From Turner, Maine, Kyle D'Souza. Number 48 for Kyle D'Souza. From Halliwell, Maine, former Oxford 250 champion Johnny Clark. 46 for Johnny Clark. Three-time champion Mike Rowe. Number 37 for Mike Rowe. Ben Rowe coming up. Number 43 for Ben Rowe. DJ Shaw out of Center Conway, New Hampshire. Number 59 for DJ Shaw. Ryan Robbins out of Dixfield, Maine. Number 33 for Ryan Robbins. Dan Winter out of Deerfield, New Hampshire. Dan reaches in, grabs number 18. Steve Chicoine out of Windsor. Number 26 for Steve Chicoine. From Lyman, Maine, Alan Tardif. Number 9, magic number for Alan Tardif. Three-time Oxford 250, Travis Benjamin out of Morrill, Maine. Number 16. Car number 73, Joey Dwyron from Berwick. Joey reaches in, picks a number. What's it going to be? Number 40 for Joey Dwyron. From Palmyra, Maine, Ben Ashline, driver of the number 99. Number 38 for Ben Ashline. From Buckfield, Maine, Tim Brackett. 36 for Tim Brackett. Up next from Buckfield, TJ Brackett. 51 for TJ Brackett. Last year's past champion from East Bridgewater, Mass., Ryan Kuhn in the number 72. Number 20 for Ryan Kuhn. Center Conway, New Hampshire's Andy Shaw will reach in next. Number 12 for Andy Shaw. Two-time Oxford 250 champion Eddie McDonald out of Rowley, Mass. Number 45 from Scarborough, Garrett Hall. 56 for Garrett Hall. Joe Pastori out of Gorham. Number 47 from Sabatis, the 23, Dave Farrington Jr. Number 3 for Dave Farrington. Your defending Oxford 250 champion from Porters Lake, Nova Scotia. Where is Cole Butcher? Derek Griffith pulling for Cole Butcher, and he pulled number 53. That's what put him behind Derek. Derek Griffith will now pull for himself. Oh, they're drawing for each other. Number 8 for Derek Griffith. Sean Knight out of South Paris, Maine, draws number 22. The 32, Nick Jenkins, coming up next out of Brownville, Maine. Number 5 for Nick Jenkins. Kate Ray out of Harrison, Maine. $35 for Kate Ray. From Waterboro, former Oxford 250 champion Curtis Gary. Number 60 for Curtis Gary. Scott McDaniel out of Livermore, Maine. Number 52 for Scott McDaniel. Kyle Salemi out of Nashua, New Hampshire. 32 for Kyle Salemi. From Strong, Maine, Tracy Gordon. He'll pull number 34. Scott Moore out of Anson. Number 14 for Scott Moore. From Windham, Maine, Garrett Lamb. Number 30 for Garrett Lamb. Josh St. Clair out of Liberty. Driver of the number 14. Number 58 for Josh St. Clair. From Windham, Maine, Brandon Barker. For the number 49 for Brandon Barker. Ryan Moore out of Mooresville, North Carolina. And pulls number 11. Still 2 pole positions waiting to be grabbed. Nick Cusack out of Scarborough. Number 13, pole, round number 2. Corey Bubar out of Gorham, Maine. Number 6 for Corey Bubar. Jimmy Hebert out of Williamstown, Vermont. Number 54 for Jimmy Hebert. From Sonoya, Georgia, former 250 champion Bubba Pollard. Number 53 for Bubba Pollard. Farmington, Maine brings us the former 250 champion Cassius Clark. And he pulls number 44. J.T. Thurlow out of Windham, Maine. Number 24 he pulls. Austin Terrio from Fort Kent in the number 45. Number 19 for Austin Terrio. Justin Larson out of Peru rolls up next. Pulls number 10. From Herman, Mike Hopkins. Number 25, and he'll start pole in heat 3. Matt Dow out of Hollis, Maine. And he pulls number 31. From Limerick, Trevor Sanborn. Number 39 for Trevor Sanborn. From Dixfield, Maine, Scott Robbins. Former 250 champion. Number 23 for the former champion, Travis Buzel out of Hollis, Maine. Travis Buzzell. Number 2 for Travis Buzzell. From Farmington, Maine, Jeff Taylor. Number 4 for Jeff Taylor. From Auburn, Maine, Travis Stearns. Number 17 for Travis, Kevin Kimball out of Windham. Pulls number 41. That leaves one number left for Dylan Moltz out of Jay. And he pulls number 55. Ladies and gentlemen, that sets the qualifying starting lineup. Jimmy Renfro, Nick Cusack, Mike Hopkins, Mike Rowe, and Brandon Barker. Those are your polls that are for the 5 qualifiers here this afternoon. We'll be rolling out qualifying in just a few minutes. Want to thank everybody for joining us here on a beautiful Sunday afternoon as we celebrate the 50th annual Oxford 250 presented by the Spencer Paving Group.
What about that? Elgin, Mike Rowe, the 3-time winner, starting pole for heat number 4. And you were also correct a little bit earlier, 20 laps for those heat races. There will be 5 heat races, 5 transfer, and then it'll go to consies and the last chance race.
We can't make it easy for him. Do you know how many times Mike Rowe has won a heat race at the Oxford 250? 11 times, and we're putting him on the front row of a heat. It could be 12 by the end of the day, the way that car's been running.
Well, as they get ready to clear the racetrack, I remind you that our pay-per-view coverage will begin at 1 p.m. Eastern time approximately, depending on when they get those first cars out for the Mad Bombers heat races. So stay kind of close there as you get ready to shift your viewing over to RacingAmerica.tv. If you have not ordered your coverage of the Oxford 250, do so now. Go to RacingAmerica.tv and order your pay-per-view coverage now. Remember, if you're not a subscriber, you can still purchase, but we do want you to be a subscriber to RacingAmerica.tv if you're not already. So for Elgin Trailer, I'm Alan Dietz saying so long on this Freeview here on Facebook. We'll see you here in just a few minutes on RacingAmerica.tv.
Hey, I'm Ricky Stenhouse Jr., your 2023 Daytona 500 champion, and you're watching Racing America.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety, providing the most advanced driver safety products to NASCAR, IndyCar, sprint cars, and sports cars drivers. From grassroots to professional racers, HMS Motorsport has over 25 years experience outfitting drivers with the best gear on the market. Equipped with first-hand product knowledge, our experts are ready to help you select the best harness belts, seats, head restraints, helmets, and racing attire for your type of racing. HMS is even the exclusive importer for Schroed belts, Schubert helmets, and Valero base layers. Visit one of our stores in Mooresville, North Carolina, or Danvers, Massachusetts, or check us online at hmsmotorsport.com, where you can learn the details of our products and order online. Safety starts here.
Get up on your feet, race fans.
Can you believe it?
Right now, racing, in my opinion, is as healthy as it's been in the last 15 to 20 years.
Just wanting to make that first lap.
Go!
Five-star bodies, the most advanced bodies on the market, aerodynamically engineered, manufactured from the highest grade and lightest weight materials, tested tough for optimum performance. The highest quality and most durable products you'll find anywhere. Our products help racers around the world reach victory lane. Winning never looked so good. Faster, lighter, stronger, better. Five-star.